Even though we had sort of dips in the relationship over our 40 years of official relations, the trajectory for our relationship, our bilateral relationship, has generally been on an upward trajectory. And I think we need to work hard over the next 40 years to make sure that that's the case. We visited Beijing, Shanghai, and Xi'an. I came away from that trip with the view that at the people-to-people level, number one, Chinese people, I got the idea, liked Americans, and that Americans liked Chinese, and we got along well. Chinese people like to laugh, they have a good sense of humor, and that we actually, at that level, have more in common than we do in terms of our own differences. And that had a profound impact on me. The second was I just felt at that time, 1994, China was a place that was sort of on the go, on the rise. We visited Shanghai during our trip and looked over into Fudan, and it was basically half built. And when I came back 4 years later in 1998 to live here in China and work at the U.S. Embassy, Fudan was this amazing place, and it was almost completely done. And it was this very impressive accomplishment. There is, in many quarters in our two countries, deep suspicion about the intentions of the other. We often hear in the United States that with China's rise and as China grows more powerful and influential in the world, that it ultimately wants to overtake the United States and take actions that undermine China's interest. Here in China, I'm often asked whether or not the United States is trying to keep China down, trying to contain China or encircle China and prevent it from rising, becoming more powerful. And so I think these two, mutually suspicious feelings are, you have to work very hard. You have to put together deliberate strategies to try to address those, try to alleviate those, bring clarity to the intentions of each of our countries, and then identify confidence-building measures, ways that we can work together to try to improve trust. But one of the things I think that our militaries over time should do more and more of is working together to try to accomplish a common mission. I served in the U.S. Army as an active duty Army officer for more than 20 years. And my experience, I found when you work with a military from another country and you have a common objective, and the experience of working together to achieve that common objective in and of itself builds greater trust. And so I've always advocated for China and the United States working together, for example, on different humanitarian exercises or around issues related to disaster relief, where we could come together, work together, try to accomplish something together that both sides can take pride in. And you build those patterns of cooperation and you build those relationships. So we have a Carnegie-Tshinghua Young Ambassadors program, which focuses on Chinese students and international students. Many of those international students are Americans. And again, that's the international collaborative approach where you bring Chinese students and international students together. You develop those relationships, as I was talking about before, in terms of identifying sort of areas of mistrust and what are the root causes of mistrust between China and the outside world, and how can our young people today begin to identify ways to build a more positive and more constructive relationship. And the idea is, as our young ambassadors go out into the world, whether it's to serve in the governments of their own countries or to work for businesses or in academia, that they have these relationships that they've developed and they can take those with them. And when they're in those senior positions, they'll be better equipped to deal with challenges. what we often say is, someday perhaps when the U.S. Secretary of State and the Chinese Foreign Minister, maybe two students that came through, our young ambassadors programs, and when they get there and they're facing difficult problems and challenges, they'll be able to reach back to their time and hopefully have a better understanding and be in a better position to solve problems.